Live. Dave here with December 1773, and Ryan will be joining us at some point. So, as you can guess by the title and by the thumbnail, if you've seen both of those things, this is an Rant show. But first, before we get into that, because I think I want to partially save some of that for when Ryan is here and when Ryan arrives. There's a couple Bill Clinton clips that had come out from a closed door session that he had on the Epstein files, and there's two clips specifically that I've seen that I think are definitely worth playing. So I think we're going to get into those as well. Um, before I guess before we do, I'll just ask the question: what are you expecting with Iran? Because the president is now saying that at least a couple weeks, but maybe 4 to 6 weeks, but also we could go longer than that. And so, are your thoughts with Iran that this is going to be an extraordinarily long-term thing? Are we thinking months? Because they kind of sold it initially like a quick strike operation. At least that's the sense that I got. I got the sense that it was going to be more of a quick strike operation. Um, I was thinking I sound awfully poppy, pop pop pop, and I realized the pop filter is missing. It has disappeared, but I see it. These things make a world of difference. Yeah, I really don't. I don't understand what we're doing here, realistically. And what I mean by that is, I don't see what's in it for the United States, and ultimately, I think that's the thing that matters. That should be what matters more than anything when we're talking about our foreign policy, especially in the context of the Trump administration, right? Because he was the one running around talking about America first. Anytime we're going to sell a policy, I want to know under the guidelines of America first, right? What is it about this that benefits the United States? Because I think ultimately that's what matters the most. Um, I'm not here to be, you know, as the United States, I don't think the United States needs to be saving the world from all the world's problems. It might sound cold, um, but realistically, we have our own problems to deal with. So, on that basis, which is, by the way, why I believed in the America First premise to begin with, why Trump was running around yelling America First, I thought finally it's somebody who gets it. So, they're still trying to spin this as some form of America First movement. And I've seen this in many different ways. One, they've said that naturally Iran is going to come for us, right? As soon as they have the long range ballistics and as soon as they have a nuclear weapon, they're coming for the United States. And I feel like I've been hearing that a while. And either Iran isn't capable to build long range ballistics and nuclears, or they're not interested. Because I've literally been hearing this most of my adult life, what a threat Iran is to America. So if you're going to sell the premise that this is America first because Iran is coming for America, that's a tough sell. I think historically that's a tough sell because we've been hearing this and hearing this and hearing this. It's kind of like the global warming thing, right? With Al Gore, and all these people running around and saying, in 10 years everyone's going to be underwater, and then 10 years comes and it's like, okay, the water levels literally have not changed at all. In 10 years, 10. Well, it's just 10 more years. I was a little off on the estimate. 10 more years, and then before you know it, it's like 30, 40 years of talking about global warming, and it just never comes. And it makes it harder to believe, doesn't it? Doesn't it? I think you have to admit that if you're somebody who's on the right and you hear people say global warming, you start to laugh, right? They even changed. They changed the phrase. They changed it because global warming was no longer sticking, right? So now it's climate change, and it gave them a big sweeping umbrella of any time there's weather activity, anything like a tornado. Oh, a tornado's really bad this year. It must be climate change. Oh, hurricanes are super bad. It's climate change. Oh, there's a typhoon. That's climate change. Oh, it's raining a lot. That sounds like it's climate change. Oh, it's actually kind of warm. That's climate change. Oh, it's a little colder than it should be. That's climate change. We got more snow than we should. That's climate change. And it's the same effect. If you keep telling me long range missiles are coming, long range missiles are coming, long range missiles are coming, and now I'm 30 years into hearing about long range ballistics from Iran. Oh, they're weeks away from a nuke, just weeks away. Oh, months away. They're only years away. They're weeks away again. It makes it harder to believe. You've been telling me they're weeks away for 30 years. They're either incapable or not wanting to build long range ballistics and nuclear weapons. The recent operation, the 12-day war last year, right? Dubbed the 12-day war, which was really just us and Israel striking Iran last year. Um, it was deemed a massive success by the Trump administration. We took out their nuclear capabilities. That was what they said. They used double bunker buster bombs, and there was this whole thing. It was great. It was literally the plot to Top Gun 2. It was amazing. Like, we did some crazy, awesome Go America stuff, right? But if the operation was such a success, how are we here? What is it, 8 months later, and Iran is already a threat again? So now I have to believe that they're still a threat. They're always a threat. They were never a threat, but they were a threat. Then they weren't a threat. Now they're a threat again. They can build their nuclear capabilities that quickly. They had to rebuild from ground zero. 8 months, they can build it right back to where they were. But for 30 years, they were weeks away, but they never got there. No, this doesn't make sense. So again, if they're trying to sell this as America first because America was at danger, that's a tough sell because it's at some point people stop believing. We don't believe that. At least I don't, and I think a large chunk of Americans, which is why the war with Iran isn't particularly popular. Even if you want to call it 50-50, it's not popular. It's not the war originally, and we have to go way back. Originally, when we went to the Middle East after 9/11, the war was immensely popular because it was sold very well. At points in time, the Patriot Act were popular, right? Because we have to look back with those lenses, right? Back in the day, the current attacks in Iran are not nearly as popular as that was. And again, we're looking back at it, but the wars in the Middle East were a disaster. And some people rightfully saw that coming and some people didn't. But now we know, right, in the modern lens, that those were disastrous wars and they were popular at the time. I'm wondering 20 years from now how unpopular or how bad this is going to look. Because again, we're going to be operating with all the information, all the things that turn out to be true, right? Which again, my favorite phase. It's all the things that were always true. They were always true, but now everyone caught on. Turned out to be true. That's really what that means. I don't know. I don't know how you could look at this and think this is America first. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean if through a global lens it's a bad thing. If you're globalism first, I think this is a massive success. This is great for the world. I think the attacks in Iran are great for the world. I think the leader of Iran was a ruthless bad person. Um, I think that's true. I think overchanging their leadership in a global lens is great. I think that's awesome. It's not really something that, for an America First lens, though, was ever a problem. Iran, two things can be true at once. Iran could have been a bad leadership. They could have had evil leadership, bad for the world, right? And not really have been a threat to the United States. Those two things can be true at the same time. So again, through an America First lens, the attacks in Iran, I don't understand what we're talking about. I don't understand how this could possibly be sold as America First. Through globalism first, it's great. If you're Israel first, it's great. I have fully agree. Iran was a tremendous threat to Israel. If I was Israel, if I was Netanyahu, and again, when I say this stuff, I'm almost never blaming Benjamin Netanyahu, right? Because as the as the prime minister of his country, right? Part of his he's also being nationalist, right? He's thinking of his country first, as he should, as the leader of that country. Of course, he's going to run around to the biggest military in the world and say, "Help us out, buddies." I don't blame him one bit. I'd do the same thing if I was Netanyahu. Absolutely. I'd visit the White House 100 times if I could, because I need you. Because you're about to save my ass again. By the way, thanks. So yeah, if I'm Netanyahu, I get it. If I'm globalism, if I'm pro-globalist, I get it. If I'm thinking about the world as a whole, I get it. If I'm thinking really big picture, that's fine. But that's not the same as America first. So just be honest in what this is. I've seen we could go so many different directions on this current war with Iran. Um, I just really a couple of things. Let me see if I can pull this up. Marco Rubio. Um, what do you say about Marco Rubio? I think he's improved. I guess maybe is he better? I think Marco Rubio's better, right? He's better than he used to be. Um, but let's be honest about who he is. He's a pretty classic Republican, I think. Fairly moderate. Am I wrong about this? Did he completely change his views from last I looked into Marco Rubio? He's a little conservative. He's fine, but he is what he is. He's kind of like a I don't want to say Lindsey Graham in the making, right? Is he Lindsey Graham 30 years, you know, I don't know what I'm thinking here, but let me pull up a Marco Rubio clip, and I think he really lays out what everyone else is saying, but he says it in a way that makes it sound good. I guess if that makes sense. Let me pull up the clip here. Here's little Marco. Here he is giving his little synopsis of it.
The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic.
Again, there's the narrative that they've been pushing that Iran is a direct threat to America, which I don't see how you can believe that. I don't think they believe that. I see why they would say that. I get what they're doing, but I don't think they think that, because to me that's not a logical conclusion.
And in fact, it bared to be true, because in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned. The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president.
This is the other narrative that I'm seeing, right? The words preemptive have been largely used to describe our actions and Israel's actions in Iran. By the way, Israel preemptively targeted a school, which of course is, I'm sure it was booby trapped or there were tons of terrorists there. But the word preemptive is a very popular one, and if you claim something preemptively, right? If you say you did something preemptively, and then they respond to your action, but you've already set the narrative that what we did was preemptive and what they were doing was inevitable, which is basically what he just did. You can almost set yourself up to do whatever you want to do. Now, his logical conclusion is that Iran already had their missiles. They were armed and ready. They were pointed in the right direction and everything. They were ready to go, which means they were going to attack us first. I think, and this is just me, but I think the reason they were armed and ready and the reason they were pointed in the right direction is because they knew the same way we knew what was coming. We've been talking about this attack for quite some time. This did not fall out of the sky. This did not come out of the blue. This was not a sneak attack. Everyone knew an attack in Iran was going to happen. It was coming. Everyone knew it was coming. The mainstream media knew it. All the podcasters and everybody knew it was coming. This was not a surprise. So to think that Iran's leadership was completely caught off guard by this. And the only reason their missiles were armed and ready and pointed in the direction of U.S. military bases is because they were planning a strike first. I think is a tough sell. I think that's another tough sell.
Made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
So Rubio is kind of correct about two things here. But in a very strange way, he kind of admits everything all the anti-Israel crowd has been stating for so long, right? So what Rubio says, and he's right about this, if we knew what was going to happen and we didn't act on it, we would be kind of at fault. We'd be negligent. We'd be responsible, and you guys would all be asking me what the hell happened. Why were we not ready for this, right? And he's right. That absolutely would happen. But the bigger picture is that Marco himself lays out the fact that if Israel were to attack, he knew our bases would be in danger, which kind of forced our hand, which in a very long roundabout way is exactly everything that we've been saying, which is that this attack is completely because of Israel. And which again leads back to my original point, which is there is no US benefit in being in Iran. There isn't one. Again, you would have to sell it on the idea, and this is what they're trying to do, that they were a threat to us directly. And that's a tremendously tough sell, like we talked about. I don't. So again, this goes back to the idea that who is this war for? Is it for the world? Are we talking from a globalist standpoint? Because again, as we laid out, this is not necessarily a bad thing for the world, okay? But it isn't the best thing for America. It is a great thing for Israel. So again, following the logical trail, listening to what Marco Rubio has just said, I would have to face really hard evidence that, and if they have it, now's the time. Now's the time to bring it out. If they have the hard evidence that shows that Iran was a direct threat to the United States, if they have the hard evidence that shows Iran truly was weeks away from nukes, long range ballistics, the capability to actually strike us from all the way across the world, now is the time. Because you have a lot of people who don't believe you. You have a lot of people who were led into America first by Trump. Because it's everything we as a people knew we wanted, but maybe couldn't put in the right terms. And a great marketer like Trump knew exactly how to put it. It's America first. It's exactly everything we wanted. We want America first. You know what else we wanted from Donald Trump? This was another Donald Trump 2024 selling, right? Was no new wars. No new wars. Peace. The peace president. Board of peace. This is great. I love all of this. I love the idea of peace. That's gone. It is clearly gone. We have invaded multiple countries. We've kidnapped their leaders. We've killed other leaders. And you can try to justify it in any way you want, but it's not America first, and it's not pro peace. Now they could try to make the claims that they've had the talks. They tried the peaceful route, right? This is what they're going to say. Well, we are pro peace, but we tried the peaceful route first, and it didn't work. Now remember when we talked about the Iran strikes last year, the 12-day war. It must have been around June, I would imagine, because I remember we were in North Carolina when we were listening to the news. I saw it all over the TV, and that one was a little more of a surprise. Not a huge surprise, but it was more of a surprise than this. Everyone saw this coming a mile away, including Iran. But that wasn't. It wasn't. It's not pro peace. It's not America first. I don't know how you can. I don't know how you can try to sell this. Um, America first, right? So from the New York Post, gas prices crossed $3 a gallon for the first time since November, and Americans could face more pump pain at the pump soon. Now, why would that be? Why would that be? I mean, we just invaded the world's largest oil reserve. I mean, he Trump sent the we played the clip on here. What do you literally say? Like, I got the oil companies; they're going in, right? Like, how do we go from that to our gas is over $3 a gallon now on average? And this is one of those things Trump was just bragging about. And the thing that's embarrassing currently for the Trump administration is Trump or his people keep bragging about things that keep going away. Trump was just bragging about the gas prices during the State of the Union. He was talking about them. It was one of the big things he was talking about. Oh, gas prices are down. Gas prices are down, and they were, but they're up again. During the Epstein testimony with Attorney General Pam Bondi, that was over 50,000. I don't think it's been near 50,000 since. It's fallen below and it's stayed below since. But that was the big reason they couldn't talk about Epstein because the stock market, your 401ks, you're going to be retiring. You're all going to have yachts. That's amazing. The Dow's over 50. This is great. But we don't need to talk about this Epstein stuff. No. We don't need to talk about that. Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh actually kind of nailed this, and I do always want to say he might not be my favorite. I don't hate him. He's not my favorite. He's fine, but I will give respect to somebody who works at Daily Wire who is willing to kind of go against the grain. That we've played Matt Walsh several times on the show of him going against the grain here and there, and don't get me wrong, by and large, he's a Daily Wire guy. But every once in a while, he kind of puts his foot down, and it's like a little shimmering hope, like maybe Matt Walsh is going to get there one day. But this is one of those moments. So Matt Walsh today, again, he's just nailing it. So far, we've heard that although we killed the whole Iranian regime, this was not a regime change war. It's an interesting point. Although we obliterated their nuclear program, we had to do this because of their nuclear program. This is a point that I've been making for quite some time now, and very correct. It doesn't hold up. There's no logical trail there. We're told that their nuclear program is so dangerous, but 8 months ago we were told that we destroyed their nuclear program. It can't be both. But again, they've been weeks away for 30 years but never got there. But 8 months ago we destroyed their nuclear program and they were there already within 8 months. So did they ever want to get there to the extent that we think they wanted to get there? At least the extent we were told they wanted to get there. Was it ever about having a nuclear weapon? And if it was, what are they missing? Why couldn't they get all the way there? And although Iran was not planning any attacks on the U.S., they also might have been, depending on who you ask. Yeah, Marco Rubio. Well, their missiles were aimed at the United States bases. They were going to attack. And although we are not fighting this war to free the Iranian people, they are now free, or might be, depending on who seizes power. And we have no idea who that will be. Yeah, and that's the danger, right, of regime change wars. You don't know what regime is taking over. It can get worse. That's the problem. It can get worse. Is Syria better off? It's not great. Actually, I don't know if you can make a lot of cases that most of those places are better off. I mean, I don't know. We fought 2 decades of regime change wars. How's the Middle East doing? It's still a topic of discussion, is it not? Some places are doing great. The messaging on this thing, to put it mildly, is confusing. Yeah, Matt Walsh is correct. That's another problem here is, and I think the messaging is confusing because there's no way to lay it out that makes sense because this doesn't make sense. This because again, this is not there is no benefit to the United States in this. There's no conceivable benefit that I can see. It could be over my head. Maybe I'm just not smart enough to see the benefit of attacking Iran. Could be. Could be the thing. Only the Ben Shapiros of the world are smart enough to see why this matters. Even the Matt Walshes of the world just aren't quite smart enough. No, I think the messaging on this, and he's correct, has been bad because there's no way to make the messaging good because there is no net benefit to the United States. It can't be America first. And a lot of the people have made this before, but I think this should be said too. America first should be changed to America only because that's a different message. And it maybe 2 years ago or 10 years ago or whatever, America first. Maybe it didn't seem like a different message, but now that we've had a little bit of history behind America first, and we see that it's America first, but still others matter, right? This is kind of what this is leading to. America only is a different message, which is I don't care if this benefits the rest of the world. I need to know if it benefits me. And that's the only distinction that matters. It's the only way I'm going to pull the trigger on something. If it benefits the United States specifically, I won't do it because it benefits the world if there's no net benefit to us. Even if it's a great benefit to our greatest ally, right? If it's a great benefit to you, you do it. The other thing Marco Rubio said, um, right, is that there was going to be retribution against the United States military bases that are there, which he's correct. Obviously, that would happen, and it did happen. But it kind of it kind of points to a more libertarian worldview, right? Where maybe if we didn't have military bases all over the world, that wouldn't be a concern. In an America only mindset, why do we have military bases in Iran, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Lebanon, Syria, right? Like what in any of these places, Afghanistan, Iraq. Why would we have military bases in any of these places? And why would another nation? This is another thing. Why would another nation ever let you have military bases within their country? Could you imagine if China had military bases in the United States, Russia had military bases in the United States? You know how fucking crazy that sounds? Am I the only one? That's crazy, right? Just driving down the street, nope, that's the Chinese military base. That's madness. There's no way we should let that happen. Even our allies, which I'm sure does exist. But even our allies, like I don't want your military bases in our borders. Certainly not our foes. I absolutely don't want your military bases here. I don't want you stationed here. I shouldn't want you stationed here. And in fact, if anyone tried to station here, that would be war because that's an invasion. That's a military invasion of another country. And you only see that, right? We only see that as an American. You would only see that if you try to reverse that, if you try to mirror image that. And sometimes that's how you have to look at things. We did this forever ago on the show when we were talking about Russia, Ukraine. It Putin sounds like the bad guy, and I'm not saying he's a good guy by any stretch of imagination, but he sounds like the bad guy until you ask yourself, what would we do in the same situation? If BRICS, right, the BRICS nations, if they were encroaching closer and closer and closer and closer to our borders, and we're like, stop, 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 we don't want you here, we don't want you. You can't add Canada to BRICS. No, Mexico can't go to BRICS, right? They're right on our borders. what would we do? Would we just let it happen? Because that's what we expected Putin to do. We expected Putin to just allow NATO to encroach closer and closer and closer to his borders. And again, that I'm not justifying what Putin did. I'm not saying Putin's a good guy, but I am saying what he did is, at the very least, if you put your country first, semi reasonable. To still have it going on this long, maybe that's not reasonable. But to some degree, maybe that's been extended because of NATO. I mean, NATO has dumped how many hundreds of $billions into this war with Ukraine? Chester conspiracy? What is the Chester? Do I have to look this up? The Chester conspiracy? I've heard a lot of conspiracies in my day. This might be one I haven't. Chester? I'll look it up. I'll look it up live. I don't care. I have no shame in not knowing things. I'm all about learning more. Most commonly refers to a persistent online conspiracy theory surrounding the 2017 death of Chester Bennington. Oh, the lead singer of Linkin Park. Wait, how is he tied into all this? I'll be honest, I haven't read this one. I'll read it right now. Bennington died by suicide on July 20th, 2017, hanging shortly after the death of his close friend Chris Cornell. Oh, from Soundgarden, and maybe also Audioslave. I could be wrong about that. Who also died by suicide on May 18th, 2017. Both had histories of childhood trauma, depression, and substance issues. An official investigation ruled both deaths suicides. However, a fringe theory claims their deaths were not suicides but murders to silence them, proponents allege. Wait, why would they need to be silenced? What am I missing? They were working together or with others on a project or documentary exposing elite child sex trafficking pedophile rings. They were undercover or about to reveal powerful figures. The Clintons claimed Chester hated them and was disgusted after being around them. Connections include supposed symbolic links. Broader lists of silent celebrities sometimes include Anthony Bourdain, Kate Spade, Robin Williams, or Avicii. Well, that's pretty wild. I'll be honest, I have not read into this. The theory has circulated since 2017 on YouTube, Reddit, podcasts, and social media with episodes like Silenced Voices, the Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell conspiracy still being discussed or reported as recently as 2025. Some reference Bennington's son, Jamie, sharing stories that fuel speculation, claims that he was undercover. I would have to do a lot more reading into this before I would buy into it. But my default position on things, and again, I'm reading. I've read this as much as I've known about this. I have read within the last 2 minutes now. My default position tends to be I'm open to anything, but you still got to prove it to me one way or the other. I mean, I'll look into it. That's curious to me. Critics and fact checks, including some family statements, point out there's no credible evidence that supports an expose project or foul play. Autopsies, police reports, and 9/11 calls align with suicide. Many similar theories emerge around celebrity suicides, often rejecting mental health explanations in favor of dramatic narratives. It's largely viewed as a baseless speculation, amplified by grief, coincidence, timing. Conspiracy communities, family, and friends have repeatedly asked people to stop spreading it. Huh, interesting. I'll be honest, that is the first time I've heard that. But again, my default position, I'll hear it out. I'll look into it, and maybe I'll believe it, maybe I won't. It'd be strange, but maybe not that strange. I think the thing with conspiracy theories, and I think this is the thing that gives them a lot of weight, is that crazier things than most conspiracy theories have my favorite phrase again, turned out to be true. Like if you look at MK Ultra or Operation Paperclip or Operation Northwoods, or like if you just go through the list of these like very provable things that have absolutely happened throughout history, it sounds like, to me, it's way less crazy that the lead singer of two rock groups were like going to expose a pedophile ring and ended up, committing suicide, right? Being suicided. That's way less crazy than the fact our government was going to shoot a passenger airliner out of the sky and blame Cuba to start a war. Am I wrong? Because that's a real thing. Operation Northwoods. That's a real thing that President Kennedy said, absolutely not. You're out of your fucking mind. And then he was shot with a magic bullet after saying he was going to disband the intelligence agencies. So to me, that's way crazier than the idea that the lead singer of Linkin Park was going to expose a pedophile ring. That's not nearly as bad shit. And I can't wait to see what files are released on COVID 30 years from now, because I guarantee you there's all types of conspiracies involved in that. I guess since we got onto the topic of Pizzagate and Epstein files, there's two Clinton clips that I think are absolutely worth listening to. That Well, I think one of them, and you could take this a couple different ways. I think personally, and maybe it's something backdoors, hint, hint, wink, wink. That's they're trying to cover for each other. But let's do this clip first. Um this is Bill Clinton in his little backroom testimony here, stating that he did not know of Trump to be involved in the Epstein files in any specific way.
I hate this, but because I don't believe I should inject anything. But I do not want to leave the impression, but since there was no follow-up question, the president never, this is 20-something years ago, never said anything to me to make me think he was involved in anything improper with regard to Epstein either. He just didn't. That's the truth. As I said earlier, the only conversation I had with President Trump about this was in the early 2000s. And I have no information that he did anything wrong. I just want it all out there. I want everybody to get it all out there and let everybody see where we are. I hate this, but because I don't believe I should inject.
You could kind of take that a couple ways, but I will say this is a big boost to the crowd. And I don't know. Ryan very much has an opinion on this. I don't know if I've landed on this yet. I could kind of go either way on this as of right now. And again, my default position, I'm open to anything. But there is a crowd that believes they're kind of split, and Ryan is in the group that Trump absolutely was involved in Epstein, which is why he was pushing so hard to cover it, and he was very much doing very illegal things, all the things you would imagine that we've talked about with Epstein. And then there's the other group that thinks the files release very much exonerates Trump in any of this Epstein stuff. There was the reports that had come out that Trump was really a big part of why Epstein was caught in the first place, because he was reporting this guy to local authorities, saying like, listen, this guy is doing some crazy shit. I don't want any part of it. I don't want to be blamed for any of it. And now that camp has Bill Clinton on their side, because Bill Clinton has now come forth in a backroom meeting saying, yeah, for what it's worth, I don't know of Donald Trump doing anything wrong at all. And there's plenty of files where there are a lot of witnesses saying, listen, I never saw Donald Trump, heard of Donald Trump. He was never involved. Now, the contrary of that, there's plenty of them where girls claim that Trump was very much involved. So again, this is part of what's tricky about having these files released, and I'm very for it, and I want to see all of the files released, the other 3 million they're hiding. But that is part of what's tricky, is you will have people making claims that can't really be corroborated, And it is. It's tricky. It's tricky to navigate because we do have to kind of stick our feet in the ground and believe in our core principles, right? And part of that is, a claim is only a claim, and facts are facts, and proof is proof, but a claim is not necessarily proof. So it does get messy. It does get hairy. But I think there's no doubt that there was a lot going on with Epstein, and it was very much tied to rich, powerful people. And what you need to do is sit there and sift and find multiple people corroborating a story. I think that's what tends to make things make more sense. If I have people who have never met each other, don't know each other, and they're all claiming the same thing, well, now I can start to think, well, that would be a weird coincidence if 8 girls said that Trump was present. And to pick Trump out of the sky again, we're looking at the context before he was politically active. Certainly, he was famous, but to just pick a random at the time random famous person out of a lineup and say, "Yep, Trump was the guy," would seem coincidental. And then you could also say, well, the girls who claimed Trump wasn't a part of it, well, maybe he just wasn't a part of it for them. I still have X amount of girls saying the same thing, that he was involved. So this is where it gets tricky. Now we have Clinton saying that, well, Trump really wasn't involved, but Clinton's also testifying that he wasn't involved. And how much do you believe that? I know my answer. I don't believe it at all. I think it's pretty obvious he was very much involved. So again, this gets messy, because it is difficult to corroborate multiple people's stories. And again, claims can be claims. Anyone can claim really anything. So just know when we're talking about the Epstein files that really, to get to a point where we're proving without a doubt that a lot of these people were involved, some of it is going to be trickier than others. Some are very black and white, but some are going to get messy, and we just have to know that going in. This other clip is Bill Clinton. He certainly isn't the young, savvy politician he used to be, but I think old Bill Clinton in his prime could have weaseled his way out of this one real quick. But he's getting a little rough these days, and he's certainly not as quick on his feet as he used to be. Here's Bill Clinton being asked about what the emails meant about him liking them very young.
In the Epstein cases, that Epstein said, you quote, like them young. Why would Epstein say that about you?
Are you asking his opinion? You're asking him to think about why Mr. Epstein would say
Correct.
something about him?
Why would Epstein say that
So
about
she's asking you to try to be in Mr. Epstein's mind and guess at what Mr. Epstein would have thought about.
First of
Clinton
all,
likes them young, referring to girls.
I will say, like Clinton, hate Clinton, like this girl or hate this girl. I'm assuming that's one of his lawyers, and she's doing a tremendous job. She's doing exactly what she's supposed to do. We all know the context of this question. Maybe the lawyer doesn't. The reason we're asking is because very clearly Epstein and Bill Clinton were having a conversation about this. Maybe not this exact comment, but it's quite known going through the files.
first of all, that's not true.
What's not true?
That I have any interest in underage.
I didn't say underage. I said young.
But it's still not true.
Is an intern young?
Yes.
Okay.
At my age, anybody younger than I am.
Did you know Jeffrey Epstein instructed a witness to deny you were ever on his island?
He didn't have to, since I was never there.
Did you ever travel to Zorro Ranch?
Is that the one in New Mexico?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Have you ever flown on anyone else's private jet?
I will say, this is kind of like the old joke, like, Oh, have you seen whoever? Oh, oh yeah, 6 foot, blonde hair and blue eyes, and has a red shirt on. Yeah, yeah, that's the guy. No, I haven't seen him. She's like, "Have you ever been to Zorro Ranch? Is that the one in New Mexico?" Yep, that's the one. Nope, never been there. Okay, it's a weird thing to know if you've never been there. Personally, I don't know. Maybe if you really know the guy well, maybe that's something he talked about a lot. But
26 times or more for overseas trips.
I have flown as many miles on other jets, but never with as many stops.
How many other people's planes have you used, like Epstein 26 times or miles, etc.?
I don't know. I did with Steve Bean, who's now deceased, and probably with 4 or 5 others.
Okay, so maybe about a half dozen billionaires total. So, how many dinners did you have with Ghislaine Maxwell or Jeffrey Epstein in attendance?
She's asking to the best of your recollection.
I have no idea.
Okay, did you ever discuss sexual misconduct allegations made against you with Epstein or Maxwell?
Never.
Did Epstein or Maxwell ever offer to help manage or silence women who made sexual misconduct allegations against you?
No.
Did Epstein or Maxwell ever offer financial support directly or indirectly to legal defense funds related to impeachment proceedings or civil actions against you?
Not to my knowledge.
Do you think a young girl massaging a president is unusual?
So are you asking his opinion?
Well, he was massaged by a young woman. I'm asking if he thinks it's unusual that a president, sitting president of the United States, leader of the free world, that
So
it's
I'm sorry.
unusual.
Are you speaking to? Are you talking to the instance of the
Yes, is it unusual that
the
a
back
young woman would be massaged
that occurred while he was not president? I'm just trying to understand. You said a president of the United States.
Former president.
Thank you. Just trying to make sure we're correct in the
Are you
time frame.
filibustering?
No, I don't need
Okay.
to. I'm actually trying to make
I
sure
think
that
I'm
as
pretty
you
clear. He said he
you
was
said he was a
young-
sitting president.
Excuse me, could we just please go one at a time? Thank you.
You said a sitting president. I want you to be clear so that when he answers
former
you,
sitting
the
president.
record
How do
is
you want
clear.
to do it? Is it unusual?
I have no
Objection
idea if it's unusual.
Objection calls for speculation.
I figured.
I figured she knew that question was going to get shot down. But it's worth a shot. Sometimes it's worth a shot because you might just catch them in a weak moment. Again, this is kind of where it gets tricky. Because we're trying to build a case against Clinton, right? For being a part of what we knew Epstein was a part of, but to those same levels. And as much as we all believe it, as much as we all know it, the proof is different. Well, what does it mean Bill likes him young? I don't know. Define young. It's 22 is young, right? We believe 22 is young. 22 would be young for a 40-year-old, 45-year-old, 50-year-old. 22 would be really young. It's not underage. It's not illegal. It's young. Is it abnormal for the former president to get massages from young women? How is it abnormal for presidents to get massages? Probably not. Again, we all know what he was doing. We all believe in what he was doing. We know what he was doing was bad. Same stuff Epstein was doing because they were hanging out a lot. But proving it's difficult. It's very tricky. We don't have the smoking gun we thought we had, right? It might be the one thing Kash Patel's right about. At least when it comes to convicting people. Maybe at least the stuff that's out in the open, and maybe that's why half the files are hidden, because maybe that's where the real smoking guns are. But we have a lot that certainly points to the fact that we know a lot of people were involved in this. We know it was a ring. We know all the conspiracy theories, right? And it seems like a lot of them are correct. But to get them into a court and convict them, that's a different bar, I think. And it becomes tricky because the way the United States judicial system is set up, it's very difficult to convict people of crimes. as it rightfully should be, to be fair. I think that's the only way you can really have a judicial system. You have to presume innocence. You have to make it difficult to convict, because otherwise you have innocent people going to jail. Now, I clearly don't think Bill Clinton is innocent, but I rather have a system where Bill Clinton gets to walk free than have one where innocent people go to jail because it's the other way around, because we make it too easy to convict people. Um, it's part of why I don't have any hope. Maybe that sounded too dark. Not that I don't have hope in like the future of the world or anything like that, but I don't have any hope that these people are going to be brought to justice, because I think we're going to need a lot more evidence to make that happen. Maybe we can just continue to hope for the best. Maybe we can continue to wait for the facts, right? We can do it the Ben Shapiro way. Well, wait for the facts. I guess in the meanwhile, on this show, what we're going to do is we're going to keep talking the way we've been talking. We're going to keep saying the things we've been saying because we believe in what we say. And one day we can just hope that maybe the evidence comes out and all the things that we talk about will turn out to be true, um, as we know they are as of today and as of right now. I guess in the meantime, as we had said in the past, um, we'll continue to monitor the Epstein files. I think this continues to be the biggest story by far. Um, but it doesn't mean we're not going to talk about everything else going on in the world. Certainly, the attack in Iran matters. It is something that's worth talking about. But I'm not going to let it overshadow what could be maybe one of the biggest news stories of anyone's lifetime. I mean, the Epstein files, really, you can't overstate how big this is. We're talking about the level of powerful people that are involved, the fact multiple nations are involved, the fact that intelligence agencies from our country, from other countries are involved, princes are involved, presidents are involved, prime ministers are involved. And the fact it was all covered up for so long. And if our country, by the way, this is the thing. If our country had 6 million files on it, how many files did Israel have? How many files did the United Kingdom have? How many files? Pick a country. Think of all the people that are involved in this. Saudi Arabia, do they have files on this? I don't think you can overstate rather how large the story is. The Epstein files really do expand. They just take on such a grand scale. Like it's unbelievable. And I just don't know. I don't know if we will see in the future anything bigger than this. Like it really is that big. But it's not going to stop us from paying attention to other things going on in the world. So, with that said, yeah, I guess we just look forward to seeing all of you tomorrow. Who knows what that's going to bring? Maybe maybe we'll invade another nation before tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe we'll take someone else over, kidnap their leader, or blow some other country up and kill their leader. Who knows? Who knows what could come out? Maybe they'll release 3 million Epstein files by tomorrow. I highly doubt it. Legally, they're supposed to. But who knows? Who knows? Or maybe it'll be a light news day and we can just poke fun at feminists or something, because those are really, as much as I like talking about important stuff, those are my favorite shows, is when Ryan just gets to be a misogynist and poke fun at feminists. Those are really the best shows. Those are the most entertaining for sure. But with that said, hope everyone enjoyed. We will see you all tomorrow, same time, same place, here at Rumble. If you're watching on YouTube, go to Rumble, because we are going to be hitting a midterm season, I think, and that means YouTube videos will no longer be up. Is the way they're allowed to be up as of right now. They'll find some reason to take our stuff down. They always do every year around election time. So that will continue. I guarantee that trend continues. So go to the Rumble, watch us there. That's the best place. That's the pro free speech version of YouTube. It's like YouTube, but it's green and it's better. Everyone go to Rumble. You can watch us there. And we'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. Thank you.